All right. So, new video series is dropping now. You're watching the video, so congratulations. What we're going to be doing every Tuesday from now on is called Tier List Tuesday. We're going to rank different things on a tier list. This week, starting it off, we're going to do the One Piece arcs. Now, go ahead, give you a spoiler warning, kind of go over the parameters of what this is going to be. So, spoiler warning for this is going to be mostly anime based. I am reading through the manga right now, but I'm only in Alabasta, so I'm not really caught up enough to be doing this based off the manga. So in the anime, we're up to, well, I don't want to spoil the arc. How do I? Let me think about how to put this. I'm going to be spoiling everything in these arcs. So if you haven't watched One Piece and don't want things spoiled for you, maybe not the video for you. Once we get to Egghead, which is the most recent arc, or the arc we're currently in the anime, I'll be a little more vague for stuff like that, just because I know some people don't watch every week. They, wait a couple weeks. So Egghead, I will be a lot vaguer about and won't spoil things from Egghead. But through Wano, you're going to get some spoilers if you're watching this. Now, criteria for this is purely based on my own vibes. How much I enjoyed the arc, how important I think the arc is for the overall story. So, yeah, that's just where we're at. That's what we're going to do here. So, let's get into the One Piece arc tier list. Starting off, we got Romance Dawn. Now, Romance Dawn is obviously important. It's the first arc. And what we get with Romance Dawn is an introduction to Luffy. We see, I'm going to say Kaido, Kobe for the first time. We also get Zoro. Don't forget, we go to, I forget what the place is called where they pick Zoro up. Well, we get the fight with Axe Hand Morgan. We get the nice scene with Zoro and the little girl who brings him the onigiri, I think, and, stomps it on the ground. Zoro thinks that if he just stays out there for a while, that Axe Hand Morgan's going to let him go. Obviously not. I know a lot of people will say that One Piece does not get good until either Baratier or Arlong Park, depending on who you talk to. I disagree. Thoroughly disagree. I was hooked on One Piece from the first episode. Now, I didn't think it was like the best thing ever on the first episode, but I was engaged enough just from the first episode where I was ready to go. So I'm going to put Romance Dawn in the B tier. Not great, but it was good. I enjoy Romance Dawn. So Romance Dawn is going in the B tier. Next, we've got Orangetown. Now, Orangetown is where we first meet Buggy, who obviously is throughout the entire show. He's very important. This is where Nami kind of really comes into play. Still don't know her motivations, obviously, but this is a really important arc because we see little things from Luffy to where Nami is willing to join the crew and realize, well, much later, of course, not much later, but later. Orangetown is important because we get these little moments with Luffy to show that he's not like all the other pirates. Like when he helps out the dog who was defending the pet store that his owner is dead now. And like the dog is protecting it to preserve his owner's memory. So this is a very important arc. Again, it's not hitting the heights of some of these later arcs, but it's important because we're learning about these characters we just met for the first time. So I'm going to put Orangetown also in the B tier. Again, nothing crazy really here. We get some good moments with Buggy. And a lot of these early arcs, especially in the East Blue, before we get to really Arlong Park, are going to be a little more whimsical. The stakes don't feel as high yet, but I really enjoyed the East Blue saga. So I know some people were like, oh, it's such a slog to get through, but I just didn't feel that way. So we got Romance Dawn and Orangetown, both B tier arcs, in my opinion. Syrup Village. Syrup Village gets a bad rap to me. I know some people despise Syrup Village, like instant F tier. I think it's a little long for what it does. We get there, we're learning about Usopp, and obviously all the things that are going on in Syrup Village with Kuro, or Clawhador is what they know him as right now. We meet Kaya. Obviously, she's sick. We get the whole backstory about Kuro came to Syrup Village, killed her parents. I'm pretty sure he killed her parents. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He is taking advantage of Kaya, and he's going to kill Kaya when she inherits all the fortune, so that he can, take his money and run off because he doesn't want to be a pirate anymore. There's a lot of important things in Syrup Village. Obviously, we get a new crew member with Usopp. Now, we'll rank the characters of One Piece next week. So, I like Usopp. I like his introduction here, that he's kind of like, the boy who cried wolf, essentially, but then ends up being the one to save the village, albeit with help from his new crewmates. Also in Syrup Village, we get the Going Merry. That's super important. Without Syrup Village, we get no Going Merry. So, incredibly important stuff. I would say also the fight between Kuro and Luffy. This is where Luffy has to fight Kuro, not only to just help out his new friend Usopp and the village, but also because Kuro flies in the face of everything that Luffy believes what being a pirate is about. To Luffy, being a pirate means you're a pirate forever. You become a pirate because you want to be free, and you're going to be a pirate forever. Kuro is like, nah, I don't want all this smoke from the Marines. I'm dipping out, and I'm going to just get my little nest egg retirement and get on out of here. That doesn't fly with Luffy. He can't let this stand. So that's another reason he has to fight Kuro. Also, we get some funny moments in Syrup Village. We get Django the hypnotist and the Meow Band brothers, which Meow Band brothers, I think that fight would have been a lot cooler if I think that fight will be a lot cooler when we get the remake of some of these early arcs, because they are very dated. Like, watching them now, I enjoyed it just because I really like pirate stuff, and it's it's whimsical and it's fun. But I could see why people were like, "Oh, Syrup Village, those fight scenes don't look great." But I'm not really judging it that harshly. The Syrup Village's importance is understated a lot of times, I feel like, because, like I said, we get a new crewmate. We also get the Going Merry, which becomes a character in and of itself. So I'm going to put Syrup Village in the C tier, but at the top of the C tier. I think the only reason I'm not willing to put this into the B tier with the rest of them is because it's a little too long. There's too much filler this early in Syrup Village to me. It drags out a little bit, and I didn't love that. Okay, Baratie. This was when I knew, all right, One Piece has got it. This is the Baratie arc is when One Piece really grew up for me to more than just like, oh, I'm having a good time, like this is cool, whatever. Baratie catapulted this into oh, this is some of the most interesting storytelling I've ever seen. What's up, Dad? I told chat, but I'll tell you, we're doing a new thing on Tuesdays where we're going to tier list. I'm going to call it Tier List Tuesdays. We're going to tier list different things, which just means that we're going to rank them in these different categories. So this week we're doing One Piece arcs. So the different things in One Piece, the stories in One Piece. So S tier is the best, and it goes down in descending order. So feel free to chime in for the parts you've seen. We're going to play that. We'll play that Star Wars game after, so don't worry. But back to the Baratie. Okay, Baratie is a very important arc because we get Sanji. Sanji's obviously one of the best Straw Hats, and I like all the Straw Hats. I know some people are beefing with the different Straw Hats. I like them all, but Baratie is important. We get there, and we learn a lot about Sanji because we were learning he won't turn down a hungry person. He's always going to feed you if you're hungry. And we get a really cool scene where we get I'm blanking on his name, Krieg. We get Don Krieg, who comes in from the Grand Line, and this is the first maybe not, no, it's not the first mention of the Grand Line, because obviously they talk about it in the intro. But this is the first time we see people coming from the Grand Line to the East Blue. And it's like, wow, these people had like an armada and they just got messed up. So what's going on the Grand Line? That place seems crazy. And so it plants the seed for much later. Well, not much later, but a few arcs later, when our crew is traveling to the Grand Line to say like, okay, I kind of have a gauge of the power level of the different beings. Because we've seen Luffy through 3 arcs at this point, and like he's whooping everybody's ass. Like, sure, some of them may be a little harder for him to do, but he's whooping them. And we learn with the Baratier arc when we see Krieg come back from the Grand Line, they're like, okay, there are big levels to this. Like, this is real stuff. Also, cannot be understated, we get Mihawk showing up to fight Zoro. Zoro obviously gets absolutely rolled by Mihawk, but he surprises Mihawk, and we learn something more about Zoro here, to where he is he's an honorable swordsman, because, you know, we get the cool line where like, oh, swordsman or scars on the back of a swordsman are a swordsman's shame. So he's like, after Mihawk has got him beat, and Zoro's like, all right, and he just like faces him. He's like, all right, kill me. Like, I lost, go ahead. And this piques Mihawk's interest, and he's like, oh, okay, there's something else about this guy. All right, cool. So we learned something more about Zoro. Also, getting a close-up of Mihawk here, one of the 7 warlords, we are exposed again to this idea that, like, yeah, we've been seeing the Straw Hats run around and beat up people in the East Blue, but there are bigger foes to fight here. All right, to let somebody know we're doing this. So the power scale's really at play here. Also, I just love the Baratier as a setting. It's a restaurant on the ocean. I love all the cooks. We get all this. It's like just a dive bar with like the hardest people you've ever seen. Just like it's the restaurant where the cooks fight, and I love that. Also, obviously, we get a good bit of Sanji's backstory here with Zeph. All his stuff with Zeph is tragic, but also like very heartwarming, because, you know, Zeph was Red Leg. Is it Red Leg Zeph? I don't know. Zeph's fighting style is the kick style that we see Sanji use, but we also get to see how Sanji became a disciple or pupil of Zeph. So Zeph is attacking the boat Sanji's on. Sanji just wants to cook, and all Sanji wants to do is find the All Blue. Now, if you don't know what the All Blue is, in One Piece there are 4 different oceans. So there's the East Blue, West Blue, North Blue, South Blue. The All Blue is a mythical ocean to where all of them meet, and there's fish from all around the world there, and Sanji, being a cook, is really interested in finding the All Blue. Well, come to find out, Zeph has the same dream. So when Zeph is attacking the ship that Sanji's on, storm's coming in, blah, 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 the ship ends up going down, and Zeph saves Sanji, and then they wash up on a rock, essentially, and they don't have any food forever. And Zeph's like, I'm going to go sit on this side of the rock, look for boats. You go sit on the other side of the rock, look for boats. Here's the food I'm giving you. I've got this big sack, but I'm giving you this little sack of food. You go over there, sit, don't come back over here unless you see a ship. I want to say it's like, I don't remember the exact time, but it's several months go by. And Sanji finally is like, he runs out of food. He's like, I'm going to go get Zeph. Like, I'm going to go kill Zeph and take the rest of his food, because he's holding out on me. He's got all this food. We then get this incredible moment where Sanji goes and he's like attacking Zeph, and Zeph is like, I told you not to come over here. Like, what are you doing? Sanji notices that Zeph's leg is now missing. So this is a little different in the anime and the manga. In the manga, Zeph cut his own leg off so he could eat it because they didn't have any food. But in the anime, he loses it saving Sanji. And what we find out, Sanji goes to the bag of food that Zeph has is still the same size. So he's like, what the hell? You just sitting here not eating? Sanji stabs the bag and it spills over, and it's just like gold and jewels. There's no food in there. So Sanji realizes that Zeph essentially gave Sanji all the food and it's this really nice moment. We then get this cool, we get more cool information about Sanji and Zeph just because they're fighting, and that it seems like they don't like each other, but there's a clear like, if you're a guy, or like maybe not, just if you've been around friends, like you just talk shit to each other, like that's what you do, and that it's clear that that's what they're doing here. We also get, like, I love the chore boy stuff, the fact that like Luffy knocks a hole in the roof and he's the chore boy and he's got to fix it, but he's so bad at all the chores, like he's breaking the dishes, like he can't do anything in the restaurant. But during the fight with Don Krieg, we see that Zeph really believes that, hey, Luffy's going to win no matter what, because he has more heart than all of these people, because he believes he's going to win. So Baratier is very important. Obviously, we get Sanji at the end of the Baratier arc when Sanji decides to join the crew. Luffy, well, when he's leaving, we get the really cool moment where they essentially all the other cooks say that Sanji's cooking's really bad, and so it makes Sanji mad. So he's like, I'm just gonna leave. We then find out that's a lie. They were just saying that so that Sanji would actually leave, because they know Sanji can't stay at the Baratier. He's got to go on and chase his dream of finding the All Blue. We get a very touching scene at the end between the rest of the cooks and even Zeph, that line where he tells Sanji, like, hey, take care of yourself, or I think he says, don't catch a cold, maybe. And they're all crying, and it's really good. We learn a lot about Sanji here, obviously, because we see why Luffy admires him so much, because he has a dream that he wants to follow, and Luffy can connect with that, even though their dream is not the same. That idea of each of the crew members have a different dream, and they're all going to help each other chase that dream, is really important. So I love the Baratier. It's where the show really took off for me. So I'm going to put Baratier in the S tier. Absolute S tier. Okay. Arlong Park. Another incredible arc in the East Blue. Nami is like been with the crew at this point, but she ain't really signed on. So Nami steals the Going Merry from the Baratier and sails it away. And they got some Zoro's little goons. I forget their names, but they are chasing the Going Merry. They trace it back to Kokoyashi Village, which is Nami's hometown. We get a ton of information about Nami here. So, excuse me. Turns out Nami cannot join the Straw Hats because she is already a member of the Arlong Pirates. Now, Arlong is a fishman who essentially is taken over Coco Village, and he's like levied a tax on all of the occupants of the village. So all the occupants have to pay him X number of berries each, I think it's month, I don't know, but they've got to pay him to stay alive, basically. So Nami is working for the Arlong Pirates, and everybody in town is pissed off at Nami, we think, because she's working for the people who showed up, and we come to find out that Arlong murdered Nami's adoptive, or surrogate mother, I should say. But the backstory on that is incredible, because we learn that Bellamere, Nami's, like I said, surrogate mother, Bellamere was a Marine. She found Nami and Nojiko, and she took them in and essentially raised them as her own children. But they didn't have a lot of money, so they were on a tangerine farm, and so they'd have to eat a lot of stuff with tangerines and whatever. Nami gets in an argument with Bellamere and like basically calls her poor and like says that like she wished she lived somewhere else. And with that, she storms out, and that's when Arlong and the Arlong Pirates attack the village. And so they see Bellamere decides that she's gonna like cook them a nice dinner to like make up for everything. And they see the smoke in the background away from the village, and the Arlong Pirates show up to enact the tax on Bellamere. But they don't know that Bellamere has 2 children. And so the Bellamere has enough to cover just her, or she can cover both of the kids. And so Arlong's like, all right, give me the money. Bellamere's like, here you go. But that's not for me. That's for my daughters. And I don't have enough to pay for myself. And it was just it's just an incredible moment because we see that no matter what shortcomings they have financially, Bellemere is not willing for any reason to say that Nami and Nojiko are not her actual children. And Arlong kills her for it. So you can't pay the tax, you're out of here. Shoots her in the face. It was terrible. It was so sad. Nami then makes a deal with Arlong. She says, okay, I'll join your crew and I'm going to buy back Cocoa Village for 100 million berries. I don't remember the exact amount, but it's a lot. It's going to be hard. And Nami's a child at this point. So also they find out that Nami's like a really good navigator. She's drawing maps of all the areas, and they're like, "Who drew these?" She's like, "Oh, I did. You know, I'm good at drawing maps." And Nami wants to draw a map of the world. That's her dream. So she goes to work for the Arlong Pirates. She's working with them, but she doesn't tell the village because she doesn't want the village to know that she's like helping them out. So she takes all this just unnecessary strife. The village knows by the time we get here what she's doing, and they're just keeping up the ruse for her. Like they haven't told Nami that they know, but they're being mean to her on purpose. But deep down, they're all like, "Wow, this girl is really like, as a child, is taking up this huge task to free us." So we get the whole backstory of this, one of the best backstories of any of our crew members, with Nami, learning about Bellemere's sacrifice, what Nami's had to sacrifice all these years to buy back Cocoa Village. We then figure out that Arlong is never going to let her, be free. What Arlong has done is he's called the Marines in, and they're going to raid Nami's stash and take all of her money. So then she's basically going to have to start over, and she'll never be free of Arlong. We obviously get the iconic scene where Nami has the fishman tattoo, or the Arlong pirate tattoo on her arm, and she's stabbing it over and over. She's just so mad. And she finally asks Luffy for help. And Luffy puts the straw hat on her and says, "Of course I will." That's what friends do, basically. And we go to Arlong Park. We get the showdown. And I just remembered, I cannot be doing this tier list with this hat on. It's got to be the straw hat, baby. Now, we go to Arlong Village, or Arlong Park, I should say. And once we're in Arlong Park, we get a couple important fights. Zoro fights Hachi, and it's like not going well. Zoro's just been hurt by Mihawk, so obviously he hasn't recovered in time, so bad stuff's happening. But Luffy shows up, Arlong and him get in a fight. Arlong's like, "Who is this guy? Never heard of you." They get to the top of Arlong Park, and Luffy sees the room that Arlong was like trapping Nami in and making her draw all these maps. And there's like some blood on the floor, so it's clear that like Nami has been abused by the Arlong pirates. And this is something Luffy will not stand for. He was not going to stand for it. And so Luffy destroys Arlong Park, beats Arlong, and Nami joins the crew, and we get the great party scene after. This is just a fantastic arc, and where the Baratier and Arlong Park really sent this show into the stratosphere for me. I like Arlong Park better than the Baratier, but only slightly. So I'm going to put Arlong Park at the top of the S tier for now. Okay, next we have Logtown. Logtown is the last stop before you go to the Grand Line. So it's kind of like where you stop the resupply and get all the stuff you're going to need to go to the Grand Line. In Logtown, Luffy wants to go see where Gold Roger, the king of the pirates, was killed 20 years ago, because that's an incredibly important thing in One Piece, of course, because that's the treasure Roger found is the One Piece, which is what he's looking for. So Luffy wants to go there. He's captured by Buggy, and Buggy's gonna kill him, and he almost does, but then a mysterious person saves Luffy from being beheaded by Buggy on the scaffolding where Gold Roger was killed. Also, cannot forget, we get the introduction of Smoker, one of the Marine. I think he's a captain at this point, but Smoker dog walks Luffy and Sanji. Like, Smoker would have killed them. Or not killed him, probably. He would have taken him in to jail or whatever. But this is a short arc, but very important. Luffy and Sanji are saved again by this mysterious figure, but we get the introduction of important characters like Smoker, who will be there for a lot of the upcoming events. So I like Logtown. I'm going to put it in the A tier. First A tier to Logtown. All right. Next, we got Reverse Mountain. This is how you get up into the Grand Line. You got to go up a mountain and back down. In Reverse Mountain, you know, we get the nice scene when they're all going to the Grand Line to where they all profess their dreams of what they want. Luffy wants to be king of the pirates, of course. Zoro wants to be the world's greatest swordsman. Sanji, like we talked about, wants to find the All Blue. And Usopp wants to become a brave warrior of the sea. Oh, sorry. Nami also wants to draw a map of the world. So we get the really cool scene where they all put their feet up on the barrel, and then we go to Reverse Mountain. At Reverse Mountain, we get the introduction of some of the Baroque work agents, who we'll get into in just a minute. But we also meet Laboon. Now, I'll talk about Laboon more later, but Laboon is a whale who keeps beating his head against Reverse Mountain because he wants to get back to his friends who abandoned him. Not abandoned him, but, well, they kind of did. His friends who left him 50 years ago, and essentially Luffy fights Laboon, just not in a, like, I want to beat Laboon, but just because he thinks Laboon wants to fight. And they paint the Straw Hat, Jolly Roger, on Laboon and say, like, you can't keep hurting yourself against the mountain because you got to be back here to fight when I get back. And so, again, short arc, but pretty important. I'm going to put it, I like it more than Orangetown, not as much as Romance Dawn. So I'm going to put it in the B tier. Whiskey Peak. Whiskey Peak is the first town that they arrive at on the Grand Line. At Whiskey Peak, they run into, they get there essentially, well, they get there first, and everybody is excited to see them. They're like, oh, we love pirates. Everything's cool. They throw them a big party. Everybody gets really drunk, and they then come to find out that they're actually Baroque Works agents. And they basically trick new travelers, especially pirates, into getting too drunk when they show up, and then they, you know, rob them, kill them, whatever. We get some cool fight scenes here. We get the Zoro and Zoro and Luffy fight, because Zoro wakes up and figures it all out before the rest of them do. He then just runs roughshod over all the agents, and Luffy wakes up and is like, who did this? And they're like, oh, Zoro did. And he's mad at Zoro because Zoro was mean to all these people who helped him. And one of my favorite scenes in One Piece, I can't remember who is like trying to fight Zoro and Luffy, but Zoro and Luffy are fighting, and it's one of the Baroque Work agents shows up and like it's about to like trying to fight them, and they both just look at him and just beat the hell out of him in 2 seconds and then start fighting again. So Whiskey Peak gets us over, I can't remember if, I want to say this is also where Vivi's definitely introduced, but she's Miss Wednesday. Yes, Miss Wednesday. So we obviously get Vivi's introduction here, and she reveals that she has infiltrated Baroque Works to try to save her home of Alabasta. So Whiskey Peak is a good arc to me. I don't love it, but it's good, and it gets us going on a very pivotal few arcs. So I'm going to put Whiskey Peak I like it more than Orangetown. I'll put it at a B. Little Garden, we arrive on, and this is where we meet, the Giants, isn't it? I know we get all the stuff with Mr. 3 here, but I'm pretty sure we meet the Giants as well. Regardless, Little Garden it's a good arc. It's important because we get more information from Vivi, and she's like, we got to get to Alabasta, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember a ton about Little Garden, but I remember enjoying it. I just kind of was like, all right, let's get to the a little better arcs. So I'm gonna put it. No, I think it's bottom of B tier. I just don't remember it well enough to put it higher than that. But we get some important stuff. Drum Island. Okay, they arrived. The crew is trying to get to Alabasta to stop the plot of Baroque Works, and they're unable to continue because Nami gets sick, and they have to find a doctor for her. Enter Drum Island. They arrive on Drum Island and they're looking for the doctor, but they say there's only one doctor we've got, and she's at the top of this mountain. And Nami needs medical attention like ASAP. So it's kind of weird because we don't know what's going on. We're like, where are all the doctors? What the hell's going on? Blah blah blah. We then learn that I don't remember what happened to the original king of Drum Island. I'm sure that Wapol overthrew him, but we find out that Wapol has taken all of the doctors, and they've basically just been used as his own personal doctors, and they're not able to serve the rest of the island. But Dr. Kareha is the only doctor they couldn't find, and she's been running around like secret ops, giving medical care, staying away from Wapol. Oh, on the way to Drum Island, also the Straw getting a fight with Wapol and beat him, so that's why Wapol's not there when they arrive on Drum Island. Also, Drum Island is really important because we get the introduction of the ship's doctor, one of my favorite characters, Tony Chopper. We learn about Chopper's backstory, about how, he's a reindeer who ate the human fruit, and he now is kind of ostracized from the reindeer community. Apparently, they already didn't like him because he has a blue nose. It's real like Rudolph vibes. But also, the humans won't accept him because they're like, this is a monster. It's a reindeer. Like, it's a Yeti. What's going on? But we then learn about Chopper and his mentor, whose name is escaping me. There's so much information that I cannot keep it all. Hiraluk. So we learn about Chopper's mentor, Hiraluk, who is trying to heal Drum Island by this, by essentially using cherry blossoms. Now, he can't find cherry blossoms anywhere. But Hiraluk tells Chopper that the pirate flag, it's a skull and crossbones, like represents freedom. It represents everything that's good and blah, blah, blah. So Chopper's looking through a book, and he finds a skull and crossbones in the medical book and thinks to himself, oh, this is exactly what we need. So he goes and finds a mushroom that was in the book, brings it back, makes a tea for Hiraluk, and Hiraluk drinks it knowing what it is. So Chopper accidentally killed, Chopper gave it to Hiraluk not knowing what it was, but Hiraluk knew, and he also knew that he was about to die because his condition that he's had this whole time has really been progressing. So Hiraluk drinks the tea. He goes up to tell Wapol what's for at the castle. And this is one of my favorite lines in the show when unfortunately Hiraluk blows himself up here. But before, he's like, I've had a wonderful life. And I don't know, something about that scene always gets me. Chopper, then he wants to be a doctor so bad, so he goes to Dr. Reen or Dr. Kareha and is under her wing. We get this, there's just a lot of sad stuff with Chopper where he's like, he just doesn't fit in anywhere. He just wants friends. Luffy and them show up. They see Chopper and they're like, oh my God, it's a monster. And Chopper's like, great. Everyone thinks I'm a monster. Like, he's moping around, but he doesn't realize that Luffy's like, that's awesome. We're all monsters. This is great. So we get a fight with Wapol where Luffy protects the pirate flag that was so important to Hiraluk and then kicks the shit out of Wapol. And Chopper decides that he wants to join the crew. He wants to be a pirate. He wants to go out and see the world because that's what Hiraluk told him was the best thing ever, was to go and see the world on the ocean. He then tells Dr. Kareha this, and she is furious. She's like, you can't do this. What are you going to do? You're a reindeer with a blue nose. What are you going to do on the sea? And so she berates him. She's throwing stuff at him. Chopper runs to the sled and just gets on, and, they leave and get on they're going to get on the Going Merry. At the Going Merry, Chopper's like, oh no, I forgot my backpack. Like, I need my backpack with all my medical supplies. And Nami's like, this backpack? And she pulls it out of the sled. And that's when we get the realization that Dr. Kareha packed the bag for him. She knew he was going to go, and she just didn't like long goodbyes. So she chased him off. But she was glad that he went. As the crew is sailing away from Drum Island, we get they finally figured out the cherry blossom formula, and they shoot it off into the air, and the whole island it's covered in snow, but the air is covered in these just beautiful cherry blossoms, and it just looks incredible. Chopper's crying. Dr. Kareha calls him his son. She's crying. The new king is installed. I forget his name, but he's the guy that turns into the big moose. Yeah, Drum Island is just incredible. I love Drum Island. I'm putting it in the S tier. Big chopper head. I love Drum Island. Putting it there. Okay, Alabasta. This is potentially my favorite arc in the whole show. We arrive at Alabasta. We uncover this long con from Baroque Works. We find out that one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Crocodile, has created this shadow organization, Baroque Works, and their whole thing is that he wants to be the king of Alabasta to find Pluton, which is an ancient weapon Alabasta is supposed to have. And so we get this like really interesting dynamic of how Baroque Works has been undermining both the royal family and the rebels, the rebel faction in Alabasta, and how they've been pitting each other against one another, and now it's finally boiling over to where there's going to be a civil war. And so we get a lot of good fights here. We learn a lot about Alabasta and its people. We get Vivi's backstory with not Kuro. What is his name? I'm blanking. Koza. We get Vivi's backstory with Koza, the leader of the rebels, and we learn that the whole argument in Alabasta, it's a desert country and it rains sometimes, but it hasn't rained in a long time. And the rebels are mad at the king because Baroque Works framed him to basically they framed him showing that he was using dance powder, which can make rain appear just in an instant. But if you continue to use rain powder, it essentially makes it to where it won't normally rain in the kingdom. So the King Cobra was not using rain powder, but Baroque Works framed him so that all the rebels are now like, well, this is your fault, Cobra. You're the reason it's not raining, so we've got to take you out now. Vivi is, she's hell-bent on stopping this revolution because she cares about her people, and, it's important. We get a lot of lines here to where, to the effect of essentially, like, Asgard's not a place, it's a people. Like, the Alabasta is the people. It's not just the actual location, it's the people. Luffy and the gang, they're ready to die to help Vivi because Vivi's her friend. They're their friend. And we get a really cool scene where she and Luffy are fighting in the desert because Vivi's like, well, I don't want any of y'all to die for this, blah, blah, blah. And Luffy's like, well, it's okay for you to risk your life, but not us. That's bullshit. Like, no, we're here to help you, and we're going to do whatever we can. Also, we'll get back to the overall story of Alabasta. We get the introduction of Ace, who is Luffy's brother, who, of course, will be very important soon to come. But some fun stuff with Ace, the Fire Fist. He's a member of Whitebeard's crew. He's incredibly powerful, so we'll get some fun stuff with Ace here. Also, in Alabasta, we get just some of the coolest locales I've seen. Like, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Egypt in the real world, but we get like a really cool scene of a casino at the top of a pyramid, and also Crocodile is just an incredible villain. Just the minutia that he's gone to here to really destroy this country from within is just, it's not good, but it's compelling. We also get multiple scenes where Luffy fights Crocodile and is easily dispatched twice. The first time, though, he's dispatched and someone saves him. someone working with Baroque Works, who we get a little introduction to earlier. Her at this point, it's just Miss All Sunday. Just S tier level character, but Miss All Sunday is kind of Crocodile's right hand woman. She saves Luffy in the desert, and then we learn that she's actually Nico Robin, and she's been wanted by the Marines for a long time because she destroyed a whole bunch of Marines or a whole bunch of ships when she was a kid. She has like a $79 million, or excuse me, million berry bounty on her head that she's had for forever. So a lot of important stuff. We learned some more about Alabasta. This is the first time we get a mention of a poneglyph, which will be very important later. Crocodile betrays Nico Robin because the poneglyph doesn't have the location of Pluton, which is what he's going for. He tries to kill Nico Robin. Luffy shows up for the third time, finally beats Crocodile, and again, it just shows the lengths that Luffy's willing to go for his friends. Vivi is his friend, and he's willing to do anything. He beats Crocodile, saves Nico Robin, and we even get some hesitation from the Marines who've shown up to help with the war in Alabasta. But they're like, why is this random pirate helping the kingdom? Like, why isn't he helping Crocodile? This doesn't make sense. So, long story short, Crocodile's beat, and they stop a bomb from going off in the center of town. And the only thing that gets the war to stop is that the rain finally comes back. We get this really amazing scene in the courtyard with the rebels versus the Royal Army, and it starts raining. And for a second, they're all still fighting, but then they're like, "Oh wait, this is what we've been waiting for." And so, Crocodile's dispatched. The kingdom can heal. It's perfectly illustrated with the rain. This is one of my favorite arcs in the entire show, and it is going to the top of the S tier. Easy. All right. After Alabasta, we get to Jaya. Now, Jaya is important. This is where we get the story about Mont Blanc cricket. So, essentially, he had found the city of gold, and he went back and told his king he'd found the city of gold, but when they got back, the city wasn't there. And they kill Mont Blanc cricket for that, but they run into a descendant of cricket who believes that the city of gold sank into the ocean. So he's been diving trying to find it. They don't know what's going on. Come to find out, the next place they need to go, according to their log pose, is up. So they've got to go up. So in Jaya, we get some important stuff with this is the first mention, I think. We might have gotten it before this, but Bellamy, a member of the Don Quixote pirates, is on Jaya, and he beats up the descendant of Mont Blanc cricket and steals a bunch of their stuff. So Luffy goes back, kicks Bellamy's ass after earlier he and Zoro are in the bar, and Bellamy and his goons beat up Zoro and Luffy because they refused to fight back. So I guess this is not worth it. Like, we're not going to fight this guy. So Bellamy, when Luffy rolls up the second time, is like, oh, this guy's a bitch. Like, he's not going to fight me. And then Luffy just dog walks. They then hit the knock-up stream, and they're on their way to Skypiea. I like Jaya. I think it's an important arc. I'm going to put it... I like it better than Reverse Mountain. They're not there for a terrible amount of time, but it's a good arc. Skypiea. This arc is overhated, in my opinion. It is a little long. There is some stuff that I think we could trim down on a little bit, but I like Skypiea. So they get to the Sky Islands, and they learn that, all right, what we're doing here is there are the Sky Islanders. There's also the Shandorians who are fighting over the Holy Land. We also find out that the Holy Land is the city of gold from Jaya. So it didn't sink into the ocean. It was shot up by the knock-up stream into the Sky Islands. In the Sky Islands, we get I kind of want to go back to Alabasta and mention all the fights between the Baroque work agents. I feel like I left some stuff out, but I don't need to belabor Alabasta anymore. It's incredible. We get a lot of good fights. Zoro learns how to cut steel. We get a solo Nami fight for the first time, I'm pretty sure. Also, at this point, Nico Robin has joined the crew. I forgot to mention that. That's incredibly important. So Robin, I'm going to back up just a bit. Alabasta, sorry. But Robin joins the crew because she's like, Luffy, you saved me. I wanted to die. Now I have nothing to do, so I'm joining the crew. Anyway, Sanji also fights Bon Clay, which we'll talk about Bon Clay soon. Very important. Cool fight. In Skypiea, like I said, the City of Gold has been shot into the air by the knock-up stream. We get a lot of cool stuff where they are traveling through the, I forget what they call the City of Gold. I'm just totally blanking. It's Shandora, I think. In Shandora, we get Inaru, or Eminem. He does look just like Eminem. But Inaru is the god now of the Sky Islands, and he is just running rampant in the Holy City. His priests are just running an absolute muck. And so in Skypiea, we get a lot of important fights. We get a solo Robin fight for the first time, which is awesome. We don't get another one, I think, until Wano. Like a solo Robin fight. So incredibly important arc for that reason, but also because it gives us a lot of stuff for the future. So in Skypiea, we get the kind of foreshadowing for Gear 5 for Luffy with the Warrior of Liberation. Obviously, Luffy wants to kick Inaru's ass because he's just oppressing the people of the Sky Islands, so that's important. We find the poneglyph, another poneglyph up here that Robin is able to read. She's the only person on Earth who's able to read the poneglyphs. So Skypiea is overhated. I'm going to put it top of the A tier. I just think I enjoyed Skypiea for what it was, just in a vacuum, but I think it's going to be a lot more important moving forward in ways that we haven't necessarily seen yet. All right, Long Ring, Long Land. Again, overhated. This arc, I'm already going to tell you, I'm putting it in the A tier. I'll put it below Logtown, but I'm putting it in the A tier. Long Ring, Long Land is it's an arc right before we're about to get into some very important things that is essentially just it's just some good old fun hijinks with the gang. So they run into my favorite meme villain, Foxy. Slow beam incoming. And Foxy wants them to have a Davy back fight where they essentially have to do all these different things, but they're competing against the Foxy Pirates, and I think if they lose a crew member or something like that. And so the Foxy Pirates want Chopper, but they keep rigging the games so that the Straw Hats keep losing. We get for the first time, we get Sanji and Zoro teaming up to fight. And that's like, I think people forget about that in this arc. It's important, especially when we get to Wano, when they're both having to fight together to help or whatever. But the only way they're able to win their challenge here is for the two of them to fight together. And they actually agree to do it, which I think shows a lot about their relationship. And some people will be like, oh, they don't like each other, they hate each other. I don't believe that. I think they're just two guys being dudes. Like, they just talk shit to each other and, they're fighting. So Long Ring, Long Land is important because not only does it give us the fact that Zoro and Sanji will work together, and I think it shows us something about their relationship, but it's just some good old fun. It's not high stakes. The Straw Hats are going to win, which could be said about all these, to be fair. But it's just some good old fun. So Long Ring, Long Land is A tier for me. All right. Water 7. Water 7, the crew has to go to because the Going Merry has been damaged. And they have to go to Water 7 to see if they can get it fixed. Because they just beaten this ship to hell and it needs help. So they get to Water 7. They find the shipwrights there. And it's a very important arc because we learned that the Going Merry is damaged beyond repair, so they're going to have to get a new ship. Now, Usopp is pissed about this. He's like, no, we have to keep using the Going Merry because she's part of the crew at this point. Like, this is a character. We've seen things in Skypiea as well as in this arc in Water 7 that the Going Merry really has its own personality. Like, we've got to keep this ship. Luffy makes the decision though that no, we can't keep using the Going Merry. We have put her through enough. We've got to set her out to pasture, essentially. And this causes a huge schism between Luffy and Usopp. Usopp leaves the crew. He says, I'm out. I'm leaving the crew. And he runs off. Luffy, is essentially gets to the point where he's like, no, we need to bring Usopp back. I'm going to go apologize to him. And Zoro's like, no. You can't do that. He left. You can't go tell him it's all cool and everything's fine now. He's got to apologize to you. And so we get a really cool scene of Luffy and Usopp fighting. And you think that, well, Luffy will just roll him, like, of course. But Usopp's got some tricks up his sleeves and holds his own pretty well. It's an incredibly sad fight because obviously these are two of our Straw Hat crew members and they're fighting each other, just going at it. So it's a great arc. But that's not even getting to the larger things at play here, to where we find out that the shipwrights are actually plants from the government with CP9, Cypher Pole 9, and they have been trying to locate Nico Robin. So they find Robin, and Robin just goes quietly with them, and we think that, oh, Robin's part of CP9. But come to find out, Robin has, again, been hunted by the government for so long for reasons unknown at this point. We're going to get into those, but reasons unknown. And so she goes with them to spare the rest of the Straw Hats because they're like, no, she thinks that the Straw Hats are not going to be able to save her. And if they get into this fight, then they're all just going to die. And Robin doesn't want that. So Robin says, I'll just go quietly with you guys and everything will be cool. Also, we get the introduction of Frankie, one of the shipwrights. We get the backstory on his mentor and how they built the sea train that goes through, and just lots of good stuff with Iceberg, his other, like Frankie's brother. I don't think they're actually brothers, but for all intents and purposes, they are. We learn a lot about Frankie here, and they also take Frankie in with Robin to Enies Lobby. So Water 7, the way I just described it sounds like it's just a piggyback story, but the intrigue and the mystery and everything of Water 7, I'm going to put it S tier, just below Alabasta for me. Now, Enies Lobby, we get to Enies Lobby. That's where they're taking Robin because they're going to execute her because she is a danger to the world. We also get CP9 and see the height of their powers with Rob Lucci. Forget all them other bozos' names. They're not terribly important at this point. But Rob Lucci is the head of CP9. He's super powerful. And Luffy and the gang roll up to Enies Lobby and they're like, we're taking Robin with us. Whether you like it or not, Marines, we're taking Nico Robin. So they get to Enies Lobby. They have like 10,000 soldiers there, and Luffy and the crew just run roughshod over these soldiers. Also, Enies Lobby is important because we get Luffy's first evolution of his power, that being Gear 2, where he beats Bluno. We also get the fight with Rob Lucci, where Luffy looks like he's going to lose. And this is definitely the most powerful person he's fought so far, but he beats him. We get the great scene with Robin saying she wants to live because we weren't sure if she did up until this point. But we get the, incredible scene from Robin where she says she wants to live. Enies Lobby is nothing short of an S tier arc. I'm going to put it above Water 7, just below Alabasta. All right, I honestly don't remember what happens post Enies Lobby, so I'm going to have to look that up. I mean, what on? I'm sure it's just like a come down arc. Oh, duh. So at post Enies Lobby arc, they go back to Water 7 and they're kind of just regrouping. And Frankie promises to build the crew a new ship because they don't have the Going Merry anymore. At some point, we've seen the Going Merry. They put it out and set it on fire to like let it go. It's a super sad scene. Obviously, we're, you know, we love the Mary. The Mary's been with us for so long at this point, and time to get a new ship, but that doesn't mean that, everybody's gassed about it. So Frankie joins the crew. We also hear about Shanks, or Shanks goes to Whitebeard, who I haven't even mentioned Shanks yet, which is incredible because he's the one who gives Luffy the hat. But One Piece, you know who Shanks is. Post-innings lobby is important. It's a lot of, I'm going to put it at bottom of A tier. It's a lot of just setup for what's coming next, but it is important. All right, Thriller Bark, or as other people call it, the Scooby-Doo arc. Now, people hate on Thriller Bark. I like Thriller Bark. I'm going to put Thriller Bark. I'm going to do something crazy here. I'm putting it above Logtown. I like Thriller Bark. Now, I don't like Gecko Moria, the main villain of this. We get there, we meet Brooke. We find out Thriller Bark's this gigantic boat, essentially. And what they're doing is Gecko Moria is raising a zombie army, and he's got this big zombie oars, and he traps Luffy's soul and puts it in oars, and they have to fight oars. Cool stuff all around. We get into Kuma shows up, Bartholomew Kuma. He shows up, one of these 7 warlords, and he's going to kill Luffy, but Luffy's all kind of drained from his fight with oars. We get to stuff where Zoro's like, I'll take it. I'll take all the pain that Luffy has right now, and I'll be fine. He takes it all. We get the great moment where Sanji finds him, and Sanji's like, what happened here? And he's like, absolutely nothing. I just stood here and took all this shit. Brooke joins the crew. So we've got our musician now. Also, we get just the banger played time and time again of Binks Sake. Banger song. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Thriller Bark, A tier for me. Saba Odi. Now, we get to Saba Odi. This is kind of if you think about Logtown as the entrance to the Grand Line, Saba Odi is essentially the halfway point. So they're gonna enter the new world, which is also on the Grand Line, after Saba Odi. So they all roll up to Saba Odi, and everything's cool. They're prepping, getting ready to go to the new world. They meet Dark King Rayleigh, who was a member of Gold Rogers' crew. It was his first mate. But Luffy punches a celestial dragon, which they're like the elites, like the top people in the world. So they're just like essentially rich people who are just the biggest pieces of shit you've ever seen. But Luffy punches one of them because they're trying to sell a young mermaid into slavery. So Luffy's like, nah, we ain't doing this. So he punches one of them. And Hachi's back from Arlong Pirates, so we get a few things with Nami, I think, here, but more in Fishman Island. Saba Odi, though, is very important because the pacifistas show up. That's Kuma. They've turned him into a cyborg, essentially. But the real Kuma shows up and he separates the Straw Hat crew. He's got this power to where he can like just send you flying. And at the time, we think, oh my God, what the hell has happened? The Straw Hats just got beat. They're no longer together. And he sends them all to different places. And at the time, we think that Kuma is a bad guy, like what's going on. Luffy's forced to watch as all of his crew disappears around him. And we get this just terrible moment where Luffy, well, I should say, no, I'll say that in a minute. Luffy sees all his crew being just, sent off to these different places. He doesn't know what happened to him. He doesn't know where they are. And it's just so sad. It's so sad. We get this broken image of Luffy and, Kuma hits Luffy and sends him off. Come to find out, though, the reason Kuma did this is because they're fighting one of the admirals, Kizaru, and they can't do it. They're going to lose. So they got to get up. Kuma saves them, essentially, here. Now, I think Saba Odi is top of the A tier. It's not really long, but it is important because we get them all on their different paths, which then sends us on what I think is the strongest 3 arcs in a row of the show. Luffy is sent to Amazon Lily. Amazon Lily is important because we get Boa Hancock, who is another 7 warlord of the sea. Also, Boa it's a whole island of women. And they're like a warrior class of women. And we come to find out that Boa and her sisters used to be slaves, and now they've got the slave brand on their back, but they cover it up because they don't want anybody to see it. Luffy is here, and he befriends them, and Boa ends up falling in love with Luffy. Very funny stuff. But we get a lot of deep backstory on Boa and her sisters that I really enjoyed. Also, this is where Luffy finds out. He heard earlier that Ace is going to be executed. But here we find out that, oh no, this is happening in a couple days. We got to get there. So I think Amazon Lily is bottom of the S tier, but I think it's very important. So Luffy finds out that Ace is being held in Impel Down. So he's got to go to Impel Down, this impregnable underwater prison, to save his brother. So Luffy rolls up to Impel Down. He breaks into the prison. We see Buggy there, and we get some fun stuff with Buggy along the way. Also, this is where we get the introduction of Ivankov. He is the underground leader at Impel Down. We learn that he used to fight with Dragon, Luffy's dad, so he's big in the Revolutionary Army. Luffy fights, we also see Bon Clay again from Alabasta, Mr. 2, and I've never seen them do what they did. I've never seen any show really do such a rehab job on a character as they do with Bon Clay. Bon Clay ends up saving Luffy when he gets in a fight with Magellan, the warden. Magellan poisons Luffy, and everybody thinks he's going to die, but Bon Clay saves him, takes him back to Ivankov. Ivankov uses his devil fruit's the hormone fruit, but he uses it to kind of help Luffy out and save his life. We then get Luffy gets to the bottom of Impel Down where Ace is being held, he thinks, but gets there, Ace isn't there. But he meets Jinbei, who will be important later. We'll bring him up later, but Impel Down is incredible because we get this just sheer force of will of Luffy running through the prison, but we get a lot of cameos from older characters. So Crocodile's also here. So is Mr. 1 from Alabasta. And then at the end, when they finally escape and they're going to Marineford because that's where Ace is going to be executed, Bon Clay, his power is that he can turn into different people, obviously. So he turns into the warden and tells them to open the gate so that everyone else can escape. But Bon Clay stays behind. And I mean, Bon Clay is one of the most important characters in the whole show. And he just gives an incredible sacrifice here. I'm going to put Impel Down. I'm going to put it in between Arlong Park and the Baratier. It's just, what a stretch we got rolling here. We then get to Marineford and the War of the Best. This arc is incredible. We get so many good fights. We see all the big players here. All the Marine Admirals are there. All the Warlords of the Sea are there. Obviously, we've got Luffy. The Whitebeard pirates show up because they want to save Ace as well. Because he is the 2nd Division commander, so he's kind of like the 3rd in charge of Whitebeard's crew, I would say, behind Marco, and then obviously Whitebeard. Great stuff. I mean, just some of the best scenes we've seen happen in the Marineford fight, which comes to be known as the War of the Best. Unfortunately, though, so I should back up and say Blackbeard captured Ace, but he used to be a member of the Whitebeard Pirates, and Ace was going after him because he killed one of their crewmates to take this devil fruit. He loses the fight to Blackbeard, and that's why he's been taken to Marineford to be executed. We get just this sheer force of will again from Luffy to where he's kind of out over his skis here. He's fighting all these people who are incredibly strong, and like he really can't match up to them just based on his powers at this point. But again, the sheer force of him wanting to save his brother Ace is where we get all these just amazing, amazing scenes. Unfortunately, though, Luffy is unable to save Ace, and Akainu, one of the admirals, kills Ace. And this is the first time someone in One Piece like that we care about dies in front of us. Like, up until this point, it's like, nobody dies in One Piece. No, it's fine. Nobody dies. This ratchets it up to 20, like out of 10. Marineford, I'm going to put it above Alabasta, S tier. So this three thing run we got here with Marineford, or sorry, Amazon Lily, Impel Down, Marineford, all S tier arcs in my opinion. So Luffy's obviously broken by this. Shanks shows up and saves Luffy and the rest of the pirates. You know, we get a nice Shanks moment at the end of this where he's basically like, you know, the Marines don't want this smoke now that they've taken all these heavy casualties, and we gotta get up out of here. So next we get post-war. Here we see where a lot of the Straw Hats have been sent, and what we find out is that Kuma sent them all to locations that's going to help them be better prepared to like fight. This is going to level them up essentially. So we also get the backstory of how Ace and Luffy met, and that they're not actually biological brothers, and that Ace is the son of Gold Roger, which is an incredible revelation. So this is good stuff. We get a lot of like gut-wrenching stuff with Luffy where he's crying at Amazon Lily saying that he's so weak, like he couldn't save his crew, he couldn't save his brother, he's failed. Like, he doesn't know that his crew is fine and that they're, leveling up essentially while he's doing this. But we get the moment where he's crying, saying that he's so weak, which is then counterbalanced later in Wano where he says, "This is my peak." So this is the lowest moment for Luffy. I like the post-war. I'm gonna put it. I'll put it above Thriller Bark. I think it's better than Thriller Bark, but this is a lot of just like cleanup from Marineford and all the stuff that came before it, and so good arc. Luffy tells the crew that, hey, they were supposed to meet back in 3 days after Sabaody, but they decide, no, we're gonna meet back in 2 years. So we get a big time jump here where everyone's going back to Sabaody. I like this arc because, we get to see all the new looks on the people and them all get back together. We get to see the crew reunite. So I'm gonna put this. I'm going to move Long Ring, Long Land. No. Keep that there. I'm going to put this above post-war. No, I'll put it below. I like this arc better than the post-war arc just because it's a little more hopeful. Because, everybody's back together. We're getting the gang back together. We got the Thousand Sunny, the new ship that they got from Frankie, and that they're going to roll down to Fishman Island. So, not a super long arc, but we kind of see that, like, all right, everybody's back. Everybody's definitely improved on their skills. We saw where they all were before, where Nami's learning stuff about the weather. Zoro's actually with Mihawk now and is learning from him. Usopp is on this island with this night guy where he's getting really fat, but he's got to work all that off and slim up. Brook is now, he's the musician. He's become the Soul King, and he's a brand new man. He's, international artist and everybody loves him. Chopper is learning more about medicine on the island with the birds. I can't really remember. They're fighting with something else. Not super compelling, but he's learning some new stuff, which is good. Frankie has been sent to Vegapunk. He goes to Vegapunk's lab and he turns himself into a better cyborg. Sanji goes to Ivankov's island where he learns some new stuff, which is good. Who am I missing? Oh, Robin goes and fights with the Revolutionary Army. We got the backstory with Sabo, Luffy's other brother, in the post-war stuff as well. So she's met up with Sabo, obviously, now. But after their return to Sabaody, they're going to Fishman Island. This is the weakest arc in the show. Fishman Island is cool as an idea. We see just a lot of stuff, but there's stuff I don't love about this arc, like the fact that Sanji keeps getting a nosebleed because he's seeing all these hot women, and it's just like hot mermaids, and it's like a big point of the arc that he needs blood, and I don't love that. Also, Horty is a great value Arlong. It's like, if you're on your way home with your parents and you're like, "Oh, mom, can we stop and get Arlong?" It's like, "No, we have Arlong at home," and it's just Horty when you get home. So the arc is too long, in my opinion. It takes forever. We do get to see Jinbei in action, and we get to see Hachi again, and Kami, as well as Papagu, the starfish. We get to meet the royal family of Fishman Island, and we get Shirahoshi and how Luffy kind of helps Shirahoshi find herself. But it's just too long. It's too long, and the villain is not compelling enough. Like, sure, there's some nice stuff here that where we get, the background of the fishmen and how they've been persecuted through time. But I almost wish Arlong and Horty would have been swapped. Because if Arlong was the main villain in Fishman Island, we wouldn't get some of the moments to where you can feel Arlong's influence on Horty. But I don't know. Horty's just not that impressive to me. So just the arc falls a little flat and it's too long. But we get some important stuff like Jinbei gives his blood to Luffy, which is really important at the end of the arc, and like it moves the story forward and we get some important stuff, but it's too long. Punk Hazard. We get to Punk Hazard. This is where we find the dude with the gas fruit. What is his freaking name? Caesar. We get Caesar. Caesar's running all these experiments on Punk Hazard. We get the introduction of Kinemon, the samurai. Punk Hazard, I like this arc, but I don't remember a ton about it, if that makes sense. I remember liking it when I watched it, but they're fighting on Punk Hazard. There was a fight here between two of the admirals, so half the island's frozen, half the island's on fire. A lot of cool stuff. We get Nami saving a bunch of kids that they have been experimenting on at Punk Hazard. What they're trying to do at Punk Hazard is make artificial devil fruits, like fake devil fruits. So I like Punk Hazard, but I don't have a ton to say about it. I'll put it top of the B tier. I think it's better than Romance Dawn. Dressrosa, we get there and we get the introduction of Don Quixote. Not the introduction, but we really get to know more about Doflamingo here. And it's just good stuff. It's good stuff all around. I'm trying to remember, when does Luffy get Gear 3? That might be, I don't remember, but anyway, we get Gear 3 somewhere along the way. Dressrosa, Doflamingo has invaded the country and he's turning people into toys by taking their souls. I like Dressrosa, but it's too long. And like, we get some good stuff with Doflamingo. He's an incredible villain, like just the worst guy you've ever seen in your whole life. We get backstory on his brother and how that has led him to make some decisions. We obviously get his backstory to where he used to be a celestial dragon. His parents or his dad decided he didn't want to be a celestial dragon anymore, so that they are essentially just, peasants at that point. He kills his dad. We get just some great stuff with the Colosseum. We get Bartolomeo. All this stuff is good, but it's just too long. Again, it suffers a lot. These are the two weakest arcs back to back, I think. I don't think Dressrosa is as bad as Fishman Island, but we get the introduction of Gear 4. Luffy beats Doflamingo, frees Dressrosa. I'm going to put Dressrosa in the B tier. I'll put it at the top of the B tier. It's good. It's just too long. If they would have cut a little bit out of this, I could easily see this being higher, but it's just not. Next, we get to Zoe, which is the back of this giant elephant that everybody's on, where our crew is, they split up in Dressrosa, and they're finally going to be reunited here on Zoe, but we find out that Sanji has received an invitation from Big Mom to go to the her tea party, and you don't refuse an invitation from Big Mom like this. So Sanji's going to the tea party because he's going to get married. And they're like, well, we got to go save him. So Zoe is kind of a pit stop at this point, but we get the whole crew back together for a bit besides Sanji. And I like Zoe, but I would put Zoe below Jaya. It's good, but it's not crazy good, I don't think. Next, the crew splits up. Half of them are going to go to Wano because they find out Momonosuke and Kinemon their real purpose and why they've been hiding on Zoe, and they've got to go to Wano to save the country from Kaido. So half of the Straw Hats are going to go to Wano and kind of wait it out and see what's going on, while the rest of them go to Whole Cake Island to save Sanji. Whole Cake Island is cool because this is the first time we've been in an emperor's territory, really. We've seen other emperors along the way, but Whole Cake Island, we are with Big Mom, and her devil fruit power is that she is taking the souls of people in order for them to live on her little island. We get the big tea party where Sanji is going to get married to one of her daughters, but turns out the daughter's going to kill him. We get Sanji's backstory, more of his backstory, and learn about Germa 66 and how his family is like this famous genetically enhanced family, and Sanji's kind of the runt of the litter, and how he was kicked out by his dad and he's helped escape. Good stuff on Sanji's backstory here. Really grew him as a character. I like Whole Cake. I just feel like it's a little too long. I don't love the stuff with Big Mom where she's on this hunger pain for 20 episodes where she's just rampaging across. But nevertheless, we get some important things. We get the great moment where Sanji beats up Luffy because Luffy won't fight back, and Sanji's just trying to get him to go away, but Luffy's like, no, I won't go away, and I'm not going to eat again until you come back. So good stuff. We end up saving Sanji, save Whole Cake Island. Destroy Whole Cake Chateau, the castle. But yeah, I like Whole Cake. I'd put it here above Skypiea, but it's a little long for my liking, but I enjoyed it. The Reverie. This is a break we get from the Straw Hats to where we're meeting with all the rulers, so we get to see a lot of people that we like. Obviously the people of Alabasta, the people of Fishman Island. Dr. Correa's there with, I really got to learn his name. What's the leader of Drum Island? Dalton. So we get Dalton here, the leader of the Drum Kingdom, but they've changed it to the Cherry Blossom Kingdom after the Cherry Blossom stuff, so that's cool. Reverie's nice. We get to check in on some of our favorites, obviously. Get some comings and goings about the rest of the world, which is always important. I'm gonna put Reverie. I'm gonna put it above Thriller Bark. Because again, I like the Reverie. It's got some good stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Wano. This is a super long arc. We get lots of stuff here. Luffy is, trying to fight Kaido to free Wano from his grip, because he's essentially just strip mining the whole country and making everyone's life hell. So Wano's good. Not good. Wano's great. I love Wano. We get Gear 5 with Luffy. We see him, storm Onigashima, and they stop the destruction of Wano. We also get great fights with Robin, Frankie. We also get Nami finally gets Zeus, the storm cloud, and she's able to use it. Obviously, we get the King and Zoro fight, the Sanji and Queen fight. Amazing stuff. Both of them level up really there. Like I said, we get the Gear 5 from Luffy. Finally beats Kaido. Big Mom is killed. Allegedly. I'm wondering if Big Mom's going to show back up, but we'll see. Big Mom is killed by Captain Kidd, and I'm blanking. I've been doing this too long. And Trafalgar. So Wano is great. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to put it top of the S tier. I'm going to put it above Arlong Park. I can't in good conscience put it above Water 7 and Enies Lobby, but I liked Wano quite a bit. All right, and like I said, Egghead, I'm not going to get into the particulars of it, but I like where we're going. Apparently we're entering the last, I want to see what they called it. The first the first arc of the final saga, so who knows how many sagas, but I like the stuff they're introducing. I like what we're learning about the world and some of our characters' powers here. I think Egghead has been an S tier arc. I can't put it above Drum Island, but I'll put it above Amazon Loop. So, this is my definitive One Piece arc tier list. Now, again, this is based largely on the anime, and I know I went into a lot of the story beats early and kind of just my vibes on the back half, but that's just because I've been reading through the manga and I'm up to Alabasta, so I really remember that stuff right now. But just based on what I know from the show, this is the definitive One Piece arc tier list from me. So, if you did enjoy the video, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to see me do this live, because we're now going to start the tier list Tuesday stuff where we go through each Tuesday and give a tier list. Well, I go through each Tuesday and just tier list out some random things. So next week we'll probably just do One Piece characters, but after that, I'm open to some suggestions. So if you got suggestions, put them in the chat, comment down below, whatever you want to do. But regardless, I hope you all have a beautiful time, and I'll see you all next Tuesday or Wednesday, I guess, when this gets uploaded.